Good Saturday morning to you all in YouTube land. This is my 1600 watt electric heater that I used to use in my shed. It goes up to 1650, okay? And I set it on 1000 watts. We'll turn that off now. I had it running in my electronic shed using this old Generac, about 30 years old at least, that I got at a place called Railroad Salvage in Groton, Connecticut. And I bought that in the early 80s. And it was supposed to be 1500 surge, but it really isn't. It's 1300, claims 1300 running watts. Now, this is an extra generator that I've been trying to sell. I had a guy last week that promised to come down. He was going to buy it. He didn't even have the damn courtesy to let me know that he found another one, and he didn't never even. So I got this out of the shed, and well, that's the way people are. You know, they have no courtesy, and he is no young kid too. He's not much younger than me. Well, anyways, this generator runs really well. I haven't used it. I have a video on it way back, trying to start it in the cold weather, and I had a hell of a time starting it. Well, I ran this thing last week, got it all ready for the guy, and got it started. I had to use starting fluid, which I don't like to do on small engines. I use starting fluid, but once it got going, and you let it run for 15-20 minutes, shut her down, as long as there's gas in the tank, she'll start up on a second pull perfectly. So it's nothing more than a lawnmower engine. I showed you this before, and the reason I wanted to sell this, and I was only asking $50 for it, is because I've got the Coleman 1850 here, which is the one that I use. This is 1500 watts continuous, and I used this for several years, and it ran our whole house, minus the air conditioner, ran the refrigerator, lights, and TV, although it's probably not good to run sensitive electronics on this type of generator. But anyways, it ran very well, and I used this up until about 3 years ago when I bought my Champion 3500 4000 surge, and that's the one that I'm using. So I don't need 3 generators, so I'm trying to sell the little Generac. Good little generator, and it ran for an hour with that electric heater until I ran out of gas. So I wanted to run it out of gas, and so I can put it away, because this bozo backed out of it and he found some other generator, but he didn't have the damn courtesy to call me and kept me waiting here. I hate people like that. So anyways, I brought that heater into my electronics shop to warm it up. Now, normally it's not a good idea to run it, but this is 14 wire. But I only had the heater on 1000 watts. I didn't put it up any higher. When I put it on 1200 watts, the generator still ran it, but it lugged along a little bit. So when I advertise it, I say it's a good 1200 watts, even though it claims 13 continuous. And, you know, so I tell everybody that's what it is, so you're not getting your hopes up figuring it's going to run a house or something. That generator right there, back in 1985, I believe it was Hurricane Gloria that hit us here in Connecticut, knocked out our power for, I think, 10 days. That kept our refrigerator going, and a few lights, and that's when I had my old mobile home. So that generator served me very well, and you know, the paint is still original on the engine because I always kept it in the shed. But I had to heat this up. I am a little bit upset by what's been happening here when it gets a little cold. When it gets a little cold in here, like last night it went down to about 50 degrees. Sometimes the upper 40s. Well, everything metal in here, I come in here this morning, everything was wet with sweat, condensate, everything. My oscilloscope, this scope, metal case was soaked. This old computer here, metal case, soaked with sweat, condensate. So I got my Mr. Heater, in addition to the electric heater, put this on. I got this up to so damn hot, it was like 80 degrees, 85 degrees in here. But the condensate was still on things. Right now the condensate is off. You know, it's gone. But who knows the inside of these sensitive electronics, how much moisture is in there from the condensate. Now, I always had that problem in my shed with tools. You know, you take your tools out of the toolbox and the metal is all wet with condensate from being cold, and then when it warms up during the day, everything's all sweaty. When I came in here this morning, it was cool, but not so cold I couldn't work, but everything was condensated. Everything, the VTVM, everything metal. My fingers were all wet. It's dry now. So I don't know, maybe some of you guys might know. Have you got workshops out there that are not heated unless you're in them? I'm sure there are some of you fellows out there that probably have the same problem. What about the oscilloscope and the high voltage and so forth? The condensate may be dry on the outside. It's pretty much gone now. But how about the inside? How about the inside of the scope? Do you dare fire it up? So that's the question. There isn't much I can do about it. I can't heat this place 24/7. I can't afford it. And I'll be damned if I'm going to let this heater go all night long. This will run quite a number of hours, and they use these for camping. Now, I only ran it. This is the one bottle one. This is the small, this is some of the Mr. Heaters, they have 2 bottles. This is only 1 bottle, and I run this on low. This thing will roast you right out of this place. It's excellent. As a matter of fact, it threw out more heat than the electric heater I showed you. But of course, the electric heater, I'm only running it on 1,000 watts because of that generator. I just wanted to put the generator under load and also use up the gas that was in the tank so I can put it back into storage. I could put it on Craigslist, but I don't like dealing with that because you don't know what kind of lowlives are going to be coming over here. I just wanted some input on from you guys out there that have workshops that are not ideally situated with heat all the time. I mean, if you got it in the basement of your house, then, you know, your basement's probably going to be at least 60 degrees at the coldest weather. Up here, being in Connecticut, you know, we get some real cold winters, and I know that when it gets real cold in here, I'm not going to be working in here. Because even though I can put the electric heater on, or the Mr. Heater, I should say, and get this place up to temperature, everything, the equipment's all going to be condensated. You know, it's going to be all sweaty. Everything's going to be cold, and it's probably not good to fire up these things. I'm not too worried about stuff like this. It'll probably be okay, but I'm more worried about the sensitive electronics, like inside of these things, and inside of the oscilloscope, and stuff like that. You probably noticed this here. I got this on eBay for $30. Matter of fact, the guy wanted $39, free shipping. And he also said, make offer. I gave him, I said $30. I had to really leave myself short the last couple of weeks to get this. And I'm sure glad I did. This thing is right on the money. But I don't want to fire it up because I don't know if there's any condensate inside. It is right on the money. Here's what I found wrong with it. This thing, I don't think it came damaged. The box was not banged up or anything. But these 4 bolts that you see holding the power transformer in, this whole bottom was bulged out on it. So bad that the thing was rocking like this. This whole bottom was bowed right out. The transformer was sitting like this. I said, what the hell happened to this thing? And there's no outside damage. So this was probably surplus. It's 5.5 amps, 18 volts. The meter goes to 20, but it's 18 volts. Regulated, and the amp meter, everything works perfectly on it. I'm very, very happy with this. But when I saw that bulged out, first thing I did is I fired it up and it worked perfectly. It's a wonder it worked at all. So I said, get the old gray matter going here, and what I did is I opened this up to look inside. It was very dusty. I cleaned it out with a clean dry paintbrush and blowed it dirt out as much as I could. It wasn't too bad, and it had so much gum tape on here that Goo Gone, alcohol, waterless hand cleaner, nothing took it off. So I said, hell with it. I took the case and I sanded it down and painted it. Looks brand new. Brand new. Beautiful shape. I've been wanting a power supply that'll handle more current than this. This I'm very happy with, but I was still in the market for a power supply that will handle more current than the Heath Tri-Power supply. So I was looking on eBay. When I spotted this, I said, can't go wrong. I go for the buy it now. And the hell with auctions, I always lose out on them. I always get outbidded. So I wrote the guy. I offered him 30. He accepted it. It was originally 39, which even at 39, in the condition it was in, working great, was a good deal. He accepted 30. He shipped it to me, and I asked him some questions, and he answered very, promptly. Excellent seller. I've seen these power supplies go for well over $100, the same model. This is a 18. This is a model PAB 18-5.5. Okay, it has the voltage control here, the fine voltage control here, and your current. I think I can fire it up. I don't think there's any problem. I think it's... All right. Oh, that's my stereo. I wonder what that noise was. All right. Now, we're going to fire this up. You can hear the relays click. All right. Current is all the way down. So you can turn the voltage all the way up, nothing. Okay? Make sure I'm in camera here. All right, so you can hear it. All right? I just touched the current just a little bit. So, all right. All right, she just kicked out. All right. I took and put a digital meter on it. She reads right on. Exact. Perfect. And I ran some current checks on it. Of course, the amp meter is not going to work now because nothing's hooked to this. If you turn the current down all the way, the voltage will cut out. See it? Put the current up. she's on. I tried a 12-volt bulb on here. I tried a few things on here, and it works very well. Naturally, if you push the current all the way up, then you got unlimited up to 5.5 amps. That's perfect. Better than these Chinese junk. So we turn the keep the current down. Beautiful. Now, I found this amp meter to be loose, so I had to tighten up. It's very easy to work on. You got 2 screws here. You got a screw here. You got 2 on here, and the hardest part is getting this faceplate to line up inside these 2. See these little black things, part of the case? There's little indentations here. I don't know if you can actually see that, but you can see one here. Well, the faceplate's got to go in between those things, so there's reinforcement. So a little tricky getting this on. So now everything's straight in it, and I'm very, very happy with this. This is one of the best eBay finds I've gotten. No work had to be done on this. It's perfect. But I worry about the condensation problem that I've got. So we'll see. Now on the contact cleaner, this is the stuff. This is like the CRC. I was watching a YouTube video last night on the Deoxit D5, which seems to be the popular one, and a contact cleaner of CRC. CRC, according to what the guy was reviewing, is a solvent that washes away all the lubricants in your controls. You don't want to use that on controls. On switches, you're okay, but on the controls, you need the lubricant in your potentiometers. So your Deoxit D5 is the recommended one, but if you go by the die-hard guys that use Deoxit, there's like 5 or 6 different kinds, and you've got to be, you got to own stock in the company to afford it. So what I plan on doing when I get the money is probably buying one of the cleaners from Radio Shack. One of them I've used, but I went to my local Radio Shack. They're like $14. I mean, they're crooks, the prices they charge. The Deoxit, there's an electronic place that'll sell the Deoxit, the MCM Electronics or something like that, for $9.99, but they want $8 or 7 something to ship it. They're nuts. So you're not saving anything. On Amazon, the Deoxit is $11, $12, $13. It's expensive. So in time I'll get that. I do want to get that so I got to have something besides that stuff I just showed you. I need some kind of a lubricant. So it doesn't have to be silicone based like the old Channel Master Shield used to be. May or may not be a good thing, I don't know, but so the Deoxit D5 is supposed to have the lubricant in it. So I can either get a can of that and go with the stuff I just showed you and call it good, or I can get a can of the Radio Shack stuff. The Radio Shack stuff is what I used in here. I don't have the can, I threw it out, but if you look back on my older videos, I showed you what it looked like. And but it's expensive, but it costs about the same as Deoxit. So when I clean these switches, it leaves a tiny residue on it, which is good. It's like a lubricant. So they worked very well. It worked very well for this scope, and I haven't fired it up to see if the switches still work in it. On the parts drawer, I think, not necessarily today, I think I'll probably take some 1/2-inch wood, I'll bring out the table saw, and glue it down on the top of this surface here, all the way around, because this is 3/4 inch wide, this tape. And as you can see, even that goes in. But I don't want to leave myself that tight of a tolerance just in case this sags. But I don't think it will, because this is right on the very edge here, see? If it was in the middle, yes. But if I put 3/4 stock in here, in other words, that would probably be easier, and this plywood sags, I'm going to have a problem pulling this thing completely out if I want to. But it doesn't have to really come all the way. But if the plywood sags, I'm not even going to be able to pull this out if it sags in the middle. So that's why I'm using 1/2 inch plywood. And I've got some of this stuff here, which is I think 3/8 underneath the shed here, that I can rip down on a table saw 1.5 inch wide and just glue it and nail it on the top of this. So just bring the sides up a little bit more. So that's it. A lot of flapping. But I wanted to address the condensate problem here, as I was kind of shocked of how everything was so wet. Everything that's metal, this was soaked. I mean, my hands were actually wet from it. I was so aggravated when I saw that, I didn't want to even video it, because I just had visions of everything drenched inside this equipment. And like I said before, I can't afford to heat this place 24/7. So, you know, I understand that this place here, this type of workshop is, you know, nothing will be going on in the real cold weather. But if it's 40 degrees out, I should be able to work in here, and I can with this heater, but I can't have everything all condensated. And I can't leave the heater going 4 or 5 hours unless I'm in here. I can't take a chance burning the place down. I mean, anything can happen to this. And electric heaters would be too expensive. I only ran the electric heater because I wanted to run the generator. All right, enough flapping. I got some, oh yes, here is one other thing. You see this cable here? You see how nice these cables are? And how heavy they are here? Well, I ordered on eBay cables that look like this, and this is what I get. Little dinky thin cables. I mean, it only cost me like $2 and change from China. But these are no good for power supplies. They're too thin. So I'm using it on my ICO. But they're thin. Even the banana plugs fit in loose. I looked all over on eBay. How damn loose they are. They fit, but they're loose. Whereas these cables came with this ICO 950. And they're nice and heavy. When you're looking at the photos on eBay, they look great. Until you get them, and then they're like this. Thin wire. Where do you find these nice heavy ones? Because this is what I need for the power supply. So what I did is I just put the thin, cheap Chinese ones on here, because you're dealing with high voltage and reading capacity. You don't need any heavy-duty wiring. Another thing that I got, this is the cable I was waiting from Banggood.com. This is only an 18-inch cable, RF. It'll be all right to go to the frequency counter, but if I want to couple in this signal generator to a radio, it ain't going to do it. Of course, I wanted BNC on each end for this to check the frequency, which is fine. So for $1.98 or something like that, I got this one. They call it a Q9 cable. What the hell is a Q9 cable? But anyways, I got this to hook onto my ICO 324 signal generator to go to a radio. I don't know if this is 50 ohms or not. It doesn't tell. They call it a Q9 cable. That means nothing to me. I've never heard those terms. Even this cable here is RG something I've never heard of before, but it's a RF cable. So it'd be good for checking the frequency. So what I got to do, I can't get back into the old house again. I've got RG58 cable, which is 50 ohms, with BNC in each end. That's in a big box up there in my old workshop. If I can ever get back into that house, the landlord said we can, but he's busy as a one-armed paper hanger with the crabs. Seriously, though, anyways. So I'm not able to get a hold of him because my brother would like to go down to that shop and, to his old apartment and get some more books out of there, because he hasn't done anything with the house because it costs big money to tear it down. Well, anyways, I have RG58 cable that I could probably make my own, because you go to China, this is what you get. And of course, as I had said, I'm trying to save money, so when I look for things, I look for the cheapest, and probably it shows. I can't help it. I'm not naturally cheap. I have to be cheap. When you don't have the cash, you got to get what you can get and what you can afford. So I don't think it really matters. I think this should probably work just fine if I'm injecting 455 kc into a radio IF. Using this cable, it should be fine. I don't think I need RF. To check the frequency of it, yes. To put it into the frequency counter, I'd do that, and then I'd unhook it and then put this cable in. That's all. Or use a BNCT connector, put that in there, put this on the frequency counter, and put the other end on this. When I had my ICO 324 signal generator, I had mounted right here a BNC connector, especially for the frequency counter. I mounted. So in other words, it had two BNCs on it. No need to do that if I use this. The thing is that you're paralleling two cables. You're paralleling the frequency counter on the output, as well as this other cable, whatever impedance that is. Whereas what I had is a 5 picofarad capacitor coming off the high side of the attenuator. In other words, the maximum signal coming out, it was before the attenuator. And I had a 5 picofarad. I just guessed at what it was. It's all RF, so. And I put my frequency counter there, and then I still had this open for running the the signal into the radio or whatever I was doing. These they threw out at work when I was working many years ago. They find these in the trash all the time. These and these. This is a BNC. This takes two, kind of corroded, but this is a BNC for two males to add a lines. In other words, if I wanted to extend this line and buy another one of these, I can add two of these and make it longer. All right. That's it, guys and gals. Thank you for watching. I think I bored you enough with my flapping of my ugly gums today. Have a good one. Take care, everybody, and thanks for watching.